down because it's time.
Hello, everybody! Welcome!
For the event you've been waiting for. Time for the gamers across the globe to drop their controllers and pay close attention.
That's my official instructions.
Time to find out what worlds we'll visit, what new characters we will become, and who'll find themselves on the business end of a headshot. It's time for the biggest names in gaming to reveal their secrets and show us the future. It begins with EA as we climb from the circles of hell for more. Witness as they unveil their next chapter live. These are the people who gave us the skills to be brutal. Hell yeah! To master the Force. And to sack the competition. Then Ubisoft steps up to the plate. They taught us how to be assassins, to live in the shadows, and how to rave like a rabbit. Then tomorrow, we'll bow before the kings of the genre as the entire world turns its eyes towards Nintendo and Sony. The time has come. G4's unprecedented 25 hours of exclusive live television coverage of E3 2010 begins right now.
In case you couldn't tell by the rabid chanting, this is like our Super Bowl or our maybe our World Cup.
I'll take that.
Do we have any vuvuzelas? No, good, okay. Honestly, that's a sports joke. That's the only one I'll make the entire way. I honestly can't decide which sports, which like team or league or competition I should use to make the obligatory reference, but this is big.
How about this? It's kind of like one giant week-long rescue closet, or finding a cheat that allows you unlimited plasmids.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that does. Now, Microsoft did set the tone for this week. This morning, actually, they came out of the gate with huge titles like Metal Gear Solid Rising, Call of Duty Black Ops, Halo Reach, and a partnership with ESPN. Yeah, I think it's pretty major.
Yeah, I mean, the implications for IPTV and interacting with TV on your Xbox, that's pretty big. But
It's not so much ESPN in and of itself, it's what that means they're moving to.
Right, exactly. And now Xbox users will have thousands of on-demand sporting events and games at their fingertips, free for Xbox Live subscribers, and of course everything is Kinect compatible.
Yes.
Yes, so
Kinect,
you can yell at your
course.
Xbox.
Kinect is the new name for Project Natal.
Correct.
Not with a C, with a K,
With
like
a K.
kinetic, but spelled kind of wrong.
Like the
Because
cool
you
kids
can't
would do it.
trademark it otherwise.
So of course you have replay features, you have stats, you have trivia questions, and again the ability to scream at your television and it will react to you.
I already do that.
Yeah.
Now it's going to listen. You say Xbox. You can also tell it what team you're rooting for, tell them how many people are watching or to root with you. These are little features, but people are going to find them interesting.
Or against you.
Yeah.
If you're a sadist.
Absolutely.
Like myself.
Look, whatever you want to compare it to, it's the gaming event of the year, and we are ready to serve up every succulent, juicy morsel of it. So let's get into it.
All right.
We've got demos for you folks, live demos, including an exclusive look at Hunted, the Demon Sword, which has sort of been dubbed Gears of Warcraft, which is not a bad dubbing to have at all.
And later on, we'll shine our spotlight on Electronic Arts live and commercial free. Blew us away with a trailer for Star Wars: The Old Republic, and there's going to be more Jedi action this year, too.
Then it's time for Ubisoft to take the stage. They've got some heavy artillery in their arsenal. They're going to unveil the latest Tom Clancy game, Ghost Recon Future Soldier. And we'll bring it all to you as it happens. And of course, totally commercial free.
Absolutely. You said arsenal.
Yeah, now you did too. All right, let's start it off with everyone's favorite web slinger. It's Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, where players get to see what the iconic hero would be like in different time periods.
God bless alternate dimensions. Adam's got our first exclusive hands-on look.
All right, kicking things off is Thomas Wilson, creative director of B-Notch Studios, and he's here to show us the latest from the webbed one. Kicking off our E3 coverage this year. Great. So, Shattered Dimensions, it's 4 different worlds of the Spider-Man sort of mythos. What's kind of the approach you're taking to this, I guess, the story you're telling of Spider-Man?
Yes, the way it happens is to talk about the story of Spider-Man, you have to talk about the tablet of order and chaos. It gets shattered at the beginning of the game, and a different boss in different dimensions get their hands on it. And that influences their power. So it's up to each 4 Spider-Men to actually retrieve each pieces of the fragment to bring the tablet together.
So what we're looking at right here is obviously the most traditional, the amazing Spider-Man. What are sort of the moves, and how does the combat play that we're watching on screen?
Yes, what we've done with Amazing, it's web-based combat, but to a whole new level. This time around, Spider-Man can form weapons, giant weapons with his web. So we're talking about like maces, giant maces, hammers, fists, and you can grab pieces of the ground and sling them at your enemies. So basically you have a lot of reach, and it's very acrobatic and spectacular.
And I want to point out this art direction here is quite something. It really does capture like my memories of the 1967 cartoons, even though they don't look this good. Also, the first-person action, how does that work in the combat?
Yeah, so in some instances you'll get to fight the bosses from up close and personal, whether they take you by surprise or you reach a point in the battle where you can fight them up close. And when that happens, it's basically sort of a punch-out minigame where you use your sticks to actually punch them in the face. And that's kind of cool because when you have a boss that goes like, like, I hate you, Spider-Man, and you can stop them from talking and beat the crap out of them, it's super fun.
Okay, now part of Shattered Dimensions is experiencing Spider-Man through like the different reimaginings. So the other world that you want to show us today is 2099. Can you tell us a bit about this world? It is not as familiar to some people, obviously, as the Amazing Spider-Man.
So it's our own version of the series of the 80s, and so it's our vision of the future with the Spider-Man 2099. It's Miguel O'Hara. We're not talking about Peter Parker here.
Right.
It's taking place in the future. Very vertical city, really high.
Obviously, we're about to switch over to see 2099 in a second. I don't want to confuse our viewers out there. So since we're still on Amazing right here, sort of how much of the game is made up of the 4 elements? Is it 1/4 each?
Yes, it's pretty much 1/4 each. So you got Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir. You have Spider-Man 2099, and Unknown Universe, which will be revealed at the San Diego Comic-Con.
Awesome. Okay, we now have 2099 running. This is clearly a much different game than what we just saw before. What is the gameplay style here?
Yeah, so what we have, Spider-Man 2099 has 2 main features. Web foils, which allow him to perform high diving acts. So we're talking about base jumping. It's like free-falling, very high action-packed, where you can chase after the villain, in this case, Hobgoblin.
Oh, that's cool.
And we have the other thing called accelerated vision, which allows him to actually slow down everything around him when he's fighting while keeping his own speed. So that provides quite an advantage over the battle.
Obviously, these worlds feel very different. I mean, are you also really trying to make a point that it's almost like you're playing 4 different games when you're playing Shattered Dimensions?
Yes, exactly. So we're sharing a core combat system, a core set of moves, but then each Spider-Man fight differently, and they each have their own unique twists and mechanics. And what's important is we're not talking about only 4 dimensions. We're talking about 4 different art styles. So it's really different from one world to the other. That was important to us.
Now, how closely were you working with the artists for these 4 different iterations of the Spider-Man legend?
Yeah, so what we did is we approached Activision and Marvel with the idea of coming up with these different worlds. They all existed at some point or another in the Marvel universe, Spider-Man Noir being quite new to the series. And we just said, look, this is our twist. This is how we want to bring it into the video game world. And Marvel sort of thought it was a great idea.
All right. Now, right here in this boss fight.
Yeah.
I assume you're using a lock-on. That's always been one of the biggest challenges in the Spider-Man games is the camera kind of going off wildly.
Yeah.
How are you trying to combat that? I guess that's the developer's enemy.
Yeah. So what we do is we have what we call a lock-on system with it's a defensive stance. It's actually a move you're using to be locking on the enemy as well as being able to dodge or evade the attacks that are coming at you. So it's quite useful. In this case, we're fighting Hobgoblin, and it's up to the player to actually grab the bombs he's throwing at you to send them back to him.
Well, you know what? I think you did it. I think this is a Spider-Man game many fans out there have been waiting to play. Thank you so much for stopping by and inaugurating our E3 coverage. We're back.
back over to Morgan.
Thanks, Adam. All right, here is an E3 fun fact. The expo is older than many of our viewers. And while I let that depressing fact sink in, let's look at the state of gaming's biggest event. There's no doubt about it. The Electronic Entertainment Expo is the ultimate destination for gamers worldwide. Every year, tens of thousands of journalists swarm the Los Angeles Convention Center to check out the latest and greatest video games from the world's top developers. Not everyone can get inside. To see what happens at this year's show, you'll either need the proper industry credentials or have your TV tuned to G4. The history of E3 goes way back to 1995, when the Entertainment Software Association decided to start a trade show just for the video game industry. The first E3 featured the surprise early release of the Sega Saturn, and details on a certain piece of hardware called the PlayStation. You may have heard of it. Over the years, the show gained a lot of momentum, and the lure of playing games before they came out was pretty irresistible. Access to the show became a very hot commodity among hardcore gamers. In fact, the show grew to such a large degree that by 2006, some attendees and exhibitors complained that industry insiders couldn't get any actual business done at the show. In response to this, the ESA transformed it into a smaller, more intimate event, which was spread between hotels in Santa Monica as well as an airport hangar. This was widely considered the worst idea ever, and in 2009, E3 was wisely restored to its full glory at the LA Convention Center.
Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr.
This year's show promises to be one for the record books. Over 40,000 attendees from 60 different countries will be on hand to witness game-changing announcements and blockbuster new titles. Stay tuned to G4 to witness E3 in all of its full glory.
E3 2010 has just started. I'm breaking stuff. Coming up today, we'll bring you live commercial-free coverage of EA and Ubisoft. Plus, up next, we're going to go hands-on with Power Gig Rise of the Sixth String, the rhythm game that could actually teach you how to play a guitar. And then we have an exclusive hands-on demo of Hunted, the Demon's Forge. Stay tuned. It's all coming up, and it's all E3 on G4.
E3, so it's time to see what you guys are twittering about.
Yes, let's go to the old wall. Radiac says, what sort of awesome games do you think Nintendo will be releasing for the Wii? I don't know, I hope they copy Microsoft and do a bunch of sports games. That'd be dope.
Well, I think it would be very surprising if we did not see a Zelda. And there's been a lot of rumors about Pikmin 3, and so we're going to see if we're actually going to see Pikmin 3 on the stage Nintendo, because that would be the most awesome thing that ever happened to the universe. And then I'm also really excited to see Golden Sun for the DS.
That's going to be a big press conference if you get all 3 wishes approved tomorrow. So
it could happen, because I got none this morning from Microsoft, so I could get one from Nintendo.
Exactly.
Right?
Let's go back to the old wall here. What do we have here? What's your personal favorite feature of Kinect or favorite game shown that uses the technology?
Oh, it's so hard to choose because I can't think of one.
Yeah, it's hard on the game side to pick the lesser of the casual evils, but I think the ability to interface with your Xbox to select items and navigate around the system, that's kind of cool. That does interest me on the Kinect side
if it works, but sometimes I feel like it's going to be easier to just pick up your controller and scroll through, because sometimes like with the Wii, you're like, oh God, I got to find that thing, and now it's thinking I'm over there. I mean, we'll see how it works.
Someone in the room is going to yell for the chips, and it's going to turn on Netflix, and that is going to start fights.
And then it's going to tweet about Netflix,
right, exactly.
and tweet about how you were watching
Hey, I heard you were talking about chips. Update your Facebook. No, just play a game. Run in place. Hey, remember, use the hashtag E3 on G4 if you want your tweets to show up in this fancy, fancy wall right here.
All right, if you play drums in Rock Band, you could conceivably, learn how to play drums in real life, but if you master Guitar Hero, you're going to be really awesome at playing Simon.
Yeah, that's about it. Abby Heppy actually checked out Power Gig Rise of Sixth String. This is a game that promises to give you actual strumming skills.
Hi, I'm here with Matt Shagru, executive producer on Power Gig Rise of the Sixth String. Matt, thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
To start, I just wanted to ask, what's the philosophy that you guys are bringing to the music game?
Well, we want to bring an authentic experience to this genre. We have obviously a real electric guitar, and our approach with the drums also gives you a really natural experience when you're playing the game.
So with the guitar peripheral, you have the ability to push down the string lock and play it as a real guitar. How is that integrated into the gameplay?
So there are two ways to play the game. One is regular beat matching, which is with the string lock up. It's pretty standard beat matching to be familiar to everybody who plays those games. Also, we have what's called a chording mode that allows you to learn actual power chords from the songs in the game. So you can, within the context of beat matching, you can learn the actual chord progressions and then play them offline in real guitar mode.
Awesome. One of the most important things for any music game is the music in the game. What licensed artists and tracks are you bringing in to Power Gig?
Well, we have a competitive number of songs on the disc. Songs that haven't been heard, 90% of them haven't been heard in other games. And we also have exclusive artists, and we're happy to announce them. They are Kid Rock, Dave Matthews Band, and the iconic Eric Clapton.
But what's your favorite feature about Power Gig?
Well, I actually play piano, and for me, playing the guitar for real has been very difficult. We've had guys in our office who are expert guitar teachers as well as players try to teach me. It's been kind of hopeless, but I can put in the time with this and have fun, and I'm actually getting some of the basic skills. So that's the coolest part for me.
As far as gameplay modes, what modes can we expect to see in the game?
Well, we have quick play mode, which is jump in with two of your friends and just play through a set list. We also have adventure mode, which lets you play through a rock and roll adventure with two friends, and it takes you through a whole story that takes hours of gameplay.
So today is the first day that we're seeing the drums, and to me right now they look like they work on magic. So can you explain a little bit about how they work?
Sure. There are electronics in both the sticks and in the bass unit, and that allows us to do to trigger the inputs with a very natural drum swing.
How high could I actually be up from the drum kit?
Well, it's pretty adjustable based on how comfortable you are being a certain distance from the unit. It has legs that are included with it. If you want to raise it up a little bit and get the LEDs that light up when you swing into your peripheral vision, you can do that.
So for someone that's played other music games, is it going to be easy to pick up and play this one, or what concessions have you made for people very familiar with the genre?
We know that there are a lot of players out there, and we want to attract those players to our platform. So we've made it as easy as possible. It's a very smooth transition from one of those games to this game.
And this guitar will work with other games as well?
It does. It's completely cross-compatible, and the Airstrike drum as well.
Very nice. All right, so when can I pick up the game, and what systems can I play it on?
It'll be out in October. It'll be on the Xbox 360 and the PS3.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. The game looks really cool.
Thanks.
Back to you guys.
It's like giving birth finally. And today at 4:30, we'll shine our spotlight on EA and Ubisoft live and commercial free. Then tomorrow morning at 11:30, Nintendo and Sony strut their stuff, and at 5 p.m. the entire G4 team kicks into high gear live from the E3 floor. And if you want extended coverage, watch G4TV.com's feedback at 9:30. Then at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, because it ain't over. No, it ain't over. And Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to continue our floor coverage. So check out G4TV.com/E3 for details and a full schedule, or just never turn the TV off. We've just scratched the surface of our live coverage of E3 2010, but I need you to be very, very quiet, because in just a few moments, we're going hands-on with the game, Hunted. Yeah!
Just getting underway. If you could actually shake up the convention center right now, you'd pour out like a gigantic nerd smoothie.
I can pour out all my dead nerdies. Yeah, all my dead nerdies. Since this is our gaming new year, let's look at the past before we plunge into our future.
Yes, now as long as I don't have to make any resolutions, I'm fine with that. So let's take a nostalgic look at the 5 most shocking moments in E3 history.
Microsoft Press Conference 2009. After unveiling the Beatles' Rock Band for the first time, Microsoft goes ahead and unveils Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney.
Thank you.
The game's presence wasn't shocking, but two of the greatest musicians of all time introducing it, we were rather floored. E3 2000. Konami unveils the first trailer for Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. The 9-minute behemoth showcases graphics previously believed impossible on PS2 hardware. The buzz is incredible, and the game instantly becomes the hottest and most talked about thing in the industry. Microsoft press conference E3 2008. Microsoft's final announcement with Square Enix is the bombshell reveal of Final Fantasy XIII on the Xbox 360. For the first time in over a decade, Square's flagship franchise will have a main series entry that isn't exclusive to a Sony platform. 2007. The ESA scales E3 back considerably, moving it to Santa Monica and drastically limiting attendance. Also eliminated are booth bays, much to the chagrin of slavering lonely men. Fraught with logistics problems, E3 returned to the LA Convention Center the following year. Nintendo press conference E3 2004.
I'd like you to step inside one more world for Nintendo GameCube.
Reggie Fils-Aimé kicks our ass, takes our name, and unveils the world's first look at The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, the long-awaited realistic Zelda game. And the crowd goes wild. Oh, realistic Zelda. You still have a fairy named Tingle. All right. Here's Morgan and Kevin with a G4 exclusive hands-on demo of Hunted, the Demon's Forge.
And I'm here with Matt Finley, president of In Exile Entertainment. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right, this game has been described as Gears of Warcraft, which is awesome, but do you think that's a fair description?
Do you get mad that people mash up your game with one highly successful franchise with another incredibly highly successful franchise?
It's horrible.
It must be really rough on you guys.
We take it as a compliment, you know.
Yeah.
I think we love both those franchises, and you know, basing our game as a modern cover-based action game, being compared to Gears of War is not the worst thing that could happen to you. And you know, set as a dark fantasy game, Warcraft is the king of that genre, so
Absolutely.
We'll take it.
And you guys, there's two main characters that anybody can control for two very distinct fighting styles, right?
Exactly, yeah. The two main characters are Alora and Caddoc. Alora is the huntress. She's the master of the bow. She also has limited melee abilities, but Caddoc, he's the melee master, and all of his special skills and ability will be on his melee skill. They both also have a magic ability, and they're about equal in that.
Oh, that's good. So it's like if I play the tank, which I like to in games, I'm not completely screwed when it comes time to start shooting missiles at ranged enemies.
And he still also has a crossbow. Each of the characters in their lesser ability does have the ability still to do it.
And is it something where you pick the character in the beginning of the game and then that's what you're going to be playing for the rest of your life?
Yeah, no, because the characters have such distinct play styles and it's such a different experience playing as one character versus the other, we set it up so that at every single checkpoint in the game, you can actually swap characters if you want to. So you can play as Alora for a while and then switch over and play as Caddoc.
Very cool. And you would think that, you know, Caddoc he's the tank, he's the aggro one. Clearly, he's going to have the emotional issues. But she actually does in this game, right?
Yeah, you know, when we design their personalities, we kind of cast them against type a little bit. Alora, while she is the more elegant of the two, she's the bloodthirsty one. She's always the one running in, kill first, ask questions later. Caddoc is a little bit more reserved, a little bit cautious, a little more thinking.
And why are they storming all these areas and slaying all these skeletons? What is the story going on?
Well, first of all, they're obviously evil. They're walking skeletons.
You don't know. He hasn't asked a single skeleton a question. They could be very nice.
No, when in doubt, kill the skeletons. I think is a good policy. You know, they start off the game and they're just traveling adventurers. They're just in it for a buck and kind of roaming from town to town looking for the next adventure. And they kind of get wrapped up into a much deeper and darker storyline. And their motivations definitely change throughout the course of the game.
And what are some of the spells and abilities they're going to use?
Wow. Okay, so each of the characters. Let me list all 700 of them. No, each character has different skills and abilities that go on their strength skill. So Alora, being the master of the bow, she gains abilities like the ice arrow, where she can shoot it and freeze enemies in place, and then Caddoc can strike them down. All of our abilities were designed with this co-op in mind, so they have a way for the spells to work together.
Because I see right now, I was seeing some lightning bolts too that he was shooting.
Yeah, no, the lightning bolts are definitely one of the spells that both characters can use.
And now, if I'm playing this co-op with a friend and whatnot, and he's been playing for weeks, if I jump into his game, is there any sort of like auto leveling or matching that goes on? How do I upgrade my character and keep him at a level with a friend?
Well, we wanted to design it so that we can really encourage co-op and try to reward players for playing the game that way.
Sure.
So we allow you to let players come in at every checkpoint, drop in, drop out co-op, and you have the option of having them come in and play with your character, or you can have them bring in their own.
So as you're playing through the game, you're finding these crystals, and you use these crystals to unlock all the spells and abilities. After we're done playing our co-op experience, I can then go back to my single-player game and take all those crystals I found with me and power up my own character.
There's not two completely separate characters for each game. By the way, I've been looking at it, and I haven't mentioned the entire time.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
like it looks really damn good.
Yeah, you know, we're using the Unreal Engine 3, and we've been using it for a very long time, and we're very proud of how it looks.
And what attracted you to this dark look?
Well, I think we knew we wanted to set our game in a dark fantasy world, and you know, inspired by some of the classic dark fantasy tales of all time, you know, Conan and things like that. And the environments that you fight in, they're varied, you know, from classic dungeons. You know, we try to present ourselves as a dungeon crawl. There's lots of dungeons, but outdoor areas like you're seeing in this demo, and wilderness areas and towns as well.
Well, sure, the engine can render them beautifully, and clearly you guys are taking advantage of it. The game looks incredible.
Very excited.
Hunted the Demon's Forge. When do we get to play it? When do I get it? When do I convince my friends to buy it?
We're shipping first quarter next year.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Thank you. You guys can get all of your up-to-the-second E3 2010 news, exclusive HD videos, and screenshots and more at G4TV.com/E3. Dr. Sessler.
Looks like it's me another busy January and February and March. Anyway, stay right there. Some people are going to sell you some things, and as a reward for your patience, we're going to show you more Metal Gear Solid Rising.
Of E3 2010.
Now, earlier, Microsoft unleashed their lineup to a packed house.
Absolutely, and here is the latest from the mind of Hideo Kojima, Metal Gear Solid Rising.
I literally was like, oh, this is my favorite part, the watermelon.
Well, okay, but at the end, like, you get what happens. He has a watermelon, and he just starts cutting the watermelon to slices.
Precision cutting the fruit.
It's a Kojima trailer. And there's like always a good 25 seconds of, wow, that joke won't end.
Yeah, we have it online. You can definitely go watch it there if you want to see all the fruit cutting.
But that is, of course, Metal Gear Solid Rising. A different take on the genre, not firearms oriented. You're definitely getting in there ninja-like with a sword.
Why do I still feel like I'm going to be sneaking, though? A little bit.
You probably will sneak
I'm
out.
going to be sneaking and waiting for my health to regenerate. I mean, it's okay. It's fine.
Now, given that you can sort of take down rafters, these objects there that you wouldn't expect to cut with a sword, A, it's really cool, but it does open up some of the strategic gameplay of how you can take out enemies, not necessarily by cutting them in half, but by taking out their supports.
A certain angle, maybe, that certain enemies are going to be vulnerable to, and you're going to have to be able to hit that angle, hopefully, with the analog stick.
Right. Well, there's an enemy hiding behind a van. I know. I'll cut the van in half and then cut him in half and take his innards and absorb them.
To Morgan's point, one could see how motion control for both the move and, connect? I'm trying to get used to saying that. It could be applicable. Do you think they're actually going to go that way?
I don't know. I mean, the gauge on screen as to where you're selecting how you're going to precisely swipe, that looks very analog stick to me. But then again, we know the move is going to have an analog nub add-on. And with the Kinect, maybe I wave or say Xbox, cut entrails. And then it does it.
That's got to be it.
I feel like, though, Kojima is somebody who could say, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yes, he is.
And Kojima, please say that. Please say that.
Now, I think one other thing worth noting is it was after this presentation at the Microsoft press conference that they said everything else you're going to see is only for the Xbox 360.
Correct.
Implication there, this will also be on the PS3. The announcement last year was only to say that there would be a Metal Gear game on 360.
Absolutely.
Right. All right, of course, I know what games I'm excited about this year, but what about you guys? We sent our Scion Mobile Studio to find out what our viewers are frothing at the mouth over. I hope they wipe the interior down after.
I hope
E3 is finally here, and we're hitting the streets in our fully loaded GeForce Scion Mobile Studio to find out which titles you can't wait to get your greedy little hands on.
E3's coming up, a whole lot of games coming up. This is the year of threes. Gears of War 3.
We need some females in this game, man. Some nice hot broads to just blow up.
You seen the trailer yet? What are those things coming out of the ground? Everybody has to watch out now.
Love the chainsaw melees. I can't wait for this game, man.
That's for you, Cliff.
I love the music games. Rock Band 3, it's so exciting. We're finally going to have keyboard.
I'm super stoked playing Fable 3.
I mean, that game's going to be crazy. You can start touching people and have interactions with them.
The fact that you can actually just drag somebody with your hands.
That's going to change everything.
Killzone 3 in 3D.
I really want to feel maybe like a bullet just like flying right past my eyes.
Seeing blood and guts splatter all over you from different angles.
Holy crap. What was that? Which direction did that come from?
Killzone 3 is going to be epic.
Direct from our GeForce Scion Mobile Studio to your television, this year's lineup has got fans ready for action, and it's going down right now at E3.
All right, still to come at 4:30, and that's Eastern.
Yes.
We're going to shine our bright and glorious spotlight on EA and Ubisoft live and commercial-free. And tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m., Sony and Nintendo reveal their deepest, darkest secrets.
They're sexy. Not really. Okay, at 5 p.m., the entire G4 team kicks into high gear live from the E3 floor. Then, if you want extended coverage, G4TV.com's feedback has what you crave at 9:30.
And if that wasn't enough, which it isn't, at 6 p.m. on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll continue our floor coverage.
All right, coming up, everybody, we're going to immerse ourselves in the world of Witcher 2 and see if it has consequences later this afternoon. You don't want to miss it. Stick around, everybody.
E3 2010 Live is brought to you by Scion, driven by personalization. Scion, what moves you?
This is E3 10 Live, and you've got a front row seat, and you know what? You don't even need an illuminating poncho.
No.
It's for you, Andy Mack.
Gerald is back and bring up more concoctions for RPG players everywhere. Kevin is about to go hands-on with an exclusive look at Witcher 2.
All right, everybody, I'm here with Tom Gopp, senior producer at CD Projekt Red. Tom, welcome to the old show here. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
All right, Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings. The first Witcher title was based off of, you guys were using a BioWare engine, right? And heavily modified. I mean, people know it looked gorgeous.
I'd say 80% of that has been rewritten.
So you just went ahead and rewrote the extra 20. You guys have proprietary for Witcher 2,
No, we did
right?
our own.
It's
we
your own engine,
sat down and wrote everything from scratch. It's solely our own engine right now.
And so what has that allowed you to do? What are we seeing in the game world that has, that going with your own technology has enabled you guys?
Well, it's all about RPG. We really wanted to do a lot of stuff, and we've seen that people like hardcore RPGs, really ones that tell the story, so we wanted to extend on that. So we rewrote most of the things. Of course, we also rewrote like the renderer, but the major thing was the tool set, the tools for writing, for telling the story, non-linear one, dialogues, cutscenes, communities, a lot of stuff.
Okay, so speaking of story, I mean, this is an RPG, so the story is key. Bring us up to speed. What is happening in the world of The Witcher?
You already know probably that it's been based on the books written by Polish fantasy, dark fantasy. Not really everything is good or bad, morally
not
questionable.
shiny vampire fantasy, but
not
serious blood on the screen fantasy, right?
Yeah, but what we wanted to do is we got the feedback from the first game, and we wanted to enhance the scale of the happenings. Like right now, it's not only a closed thing inside one kingdom. It's like more of a scale. Few kings are in danger. There are assassinations of them. A lot of wider scale in terms of terrain, but there's also a larger scale in terms of emotions. We're digging deeper into what happened to Geralt. In the first game, he pretty much forgot everything about when he came back after some time after the
you start off
book.
with a fresh slate and try to figure it all out.
Yeah, and now we're getting. We think it's time for his memory to get back to him. So it's basically.
But that's kind of you to give it back. Now, what other sort of fan feedback did you get from the first title that you're implementing in Witcher 2?
Oh, of course, we wanted to re-implement or improve some of the things that people love, like the story, like the way we tell it, but also wanted to improve and change things that people complained about. Some of the people complained about combat being not too intuitive, so we ditched the time-based clicking sequences. Right now it's more freedom, it's smoother. You got a lot of things you can do at any time. You can mix magic sword, you can mix alchemy, whatever you want.
And just mix them up on the fly. So
on the fly, you don't have to carry out a sequence to the very end. You can break anywhere you want and get back to it.
And now what about allies in the game? Do they play a bigger role this time around?
I'd say so, yeah. Of course, it's not like you control them totally. You don't order your friends in the battlefield, but they are story-driven. You get a lot of things you can do, and dependent on whom you choose to go along with in a story, it might lead to a different ending. We've got a lot of endings in the story in The Witcher 2, and allies are one of the factors that decides on the ending you get.
Okay, so tons of replayability once you actually finish the game.
Definitely.
Right back to it. Now, you say that there's a strong story, but you guys have also pointed out in the past that there is a sort of non-linear aspect to the game. So what problems does that create for you guys when you're making a game? You want to tell a narrative, but you want to give the player control.
How do you tell a non-linear story? You basically have to tell few stories.
Right.
You decide which story you choose. You try to go this path or that one. So you got a lot of stories to find out in The Witcher 2. That's one thing. And the second one is the character development. You might want to choose the swordmaster. You might want to choose the one that's focused on magic or alchemy. And that is a lot of different approach to the gameplay. You will have a different feel of a gameplay when you choose different characters.
So what are we seeing right here? I know we sort of launched into a beginning portion of the game here.
Yeah, it's like a beginning of Act 1. We're actually by the riverbank. It's a river Pontar. And we're fighting some elves, so you can see changes we've done in the combat. A lot of mixing stuff, magic, there's a stunning sign. We could roll around, throw in a sign, combine strong and fast stance, and so on and so on. It's live, group stance, whatever you want.
You definitely listened to the fans of the first one, and it's clear that you improved on all aspects.
Definitely.
And really, your custom engine looks fantastic, so thank you for coming on and showing it off. We appreciate it. When do we get to play it?
First quarter 2011.
First quarter of 2011. Thank you so much. That was Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings. Now let's send it over to Adam and Morgan.
Look really beautiful. I'm very excited. All right, starting Thursday, watch the best of our E3 2010 coverage whenever you want. Just look for G4 On Demand on your channel lineup. Go to G4TV.com/VOD for more info.
Now, E3 2010 has just started, but we're already excited.
Yeah.
Look at me. I got that leg shaking. All right, when we come back, well, you tell them.
I'm going to tell them. We've carved out the choicest cuts from Microsoft for you, including Gears of War 3, so you should stick around. All right, we are back with more of the biggest gaming event of the year, E3 2010. 2010.
Now let's take another look at what Microsoft unveiled this morning.
Right, here's Gears of War 3.
Watch it. Oh, crap. Get away, get away. Get over here. Watch it. Yep. Go. Get, go. I'm in. Good, how did you? It was like this one. That guy.
Did we fry that bitch?
Until it stops screaming.
You can't shoot it until it finishes its scream, and then
you can
jumps down.
shoot it. Yeah,
You're scared. You're like, I couldn't roll my big gun.
Huge Gears of War fan. Second Gears of War didn't really do it for me. I am psyched. I'm re-energized on the Gears franchise. Not only after seeing that, but at the notion of playing with 3 people.
It's because there's a blonde girl, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty much what did it for me. The ability to play at my alter ego.
No, I mean, I love that they've been hyping these women, and like, okay, but that's cool, but like, it doesn't change the gameplay at all.
No, but 4-player co-op does. I'm excited for that. And we saw some cool stuff in there. We saw some gun swapping. He was like, "Oh, I'm out of ammo. Give me something," and they were exchanging weapons.
And the huge worms that came out. Yeah.
I know that you guys were not as fond of 2. I like 2 because I like monsters, and what I'm seeing here is more monsters. This feeds my kind of like strange, pre-adolescent mind that saw scary things everywhere.
Right.
And like, the stuff we saw in that demo.
And your fan fiction of being inside of monsters as well, with the chainsaw. Yeah.
I know that was always your dream. That was one of my least favorite
parts. To be inside
of
a worm, I've always wondered what the inside of a giant worm was going to look like.
And you know what?
Very squishy.
And now you know.
Cliffy also teased another game mode called Beast, which he said they're going to show off at their booth. We immediately went, does that mean we get to play as that giant beast and then all of our friends are trying to kill us?
Yeah, which I think would be a lot of fun. They've tried that so many times with the AVP games and never succeeded. I have all the confidence in the world.
I feel like
that
they're going to be
that's
able to make that happen.
Epic can make that happen.
Absolutely.
All right, well, of course, that was Gears of War 3, and we have all sorts of coverage of that coming up in the next few days. But one thing they also announced at the press conference was a partnership with ESPN.
Yes, we're going to take a look at that.
Yes, here it is. You can see, again, all the best of E3 2010. The clips anytime are on our website, but check out the old ESPN narrative.
For some people who are sports fans, but I'm excited by this because I think it's we're going to maybe see more content provided this way.
Yes.
And I hope that comes true, and then I will watch it.
Well, they showed some DVR functionality as well when they did a replay of a particular play in a football game. And Adam and I immediately reacted, well, is this off the hard drive? Is this coming off of the cloud? Where is this coming from? So there could be, again, huge implications for IPTV, which Microsoft promised years ago on the 360. Now
it was even hinted at on the Xbox, to be fair.
Yeah, no, it was. And now it seems to finally be coming to fruition. But Morgan, do you think people will be watching college sports on their Xbox and interacting? And
what I do like about it is that it's actually free for Xbox Live Gold members. So this is going to be something people have anyway. I use Netflix a lot because I already had Netflix and I already have a Gold membership. I think people are actually going to use it a lot. It probably isn't a coincidence that we're also seeing the new Xbox Slim with the larger hard drive at this time, because if you are going to want DVR functionality, or maybe you could even pre-buffer a game that you're going to want to watch in the future, it would be great if that were available to you.
Right.
And as you said, if it's free to people with the Xbox Live Gold membership, that kind of requires you to have a hard drive. So I think currently right now, this is something for that type of install base.
Right. And I know I'm going to use it occasionally if people come over and they want to watch a game, or if I have to watch, like a Cal Bears game.
Outside of yelling at my TV, I mean, yeah, for college basketball and football, where you can't always get the games, like if you went to Ohio and you live in somewhere that isn't Ohio, it's really tough to get the game. But in terms of the DVR, I mean, it is so it's like a TiVo that I yell at. You know?
Right.
It is
I'm excited for the interactivity, the ability to answer polls and good stuff like that.
You do love a good poll.
I do. Oh. I do.
I can take the pulse of everybody.
Now, can the cult of Mac, that's Apple, translate into big money in video games? We're going to take a bite out of Apple in just a minute. See what I did there? That's a pun.
I got it.
That's what the clever guys do with the biz.
I think you should maybe try a new one.
Yeah, you're right. We'll take a bite out of Apple.
Still not feeling it.
Maybe I do any funny ones?
No.
Bite out of Apple.
Just do the commercial thing.
It's E3!
Get used to it.
That was adorable. Okay.
The Electronic Arts press conference is getting underway shortly, and we're going to be broadcasting every luscious detail of it live and with no commercial interruptions.
All right, let's check in with Blair Herder, Patrick Klepek, and Kristen Adams, who are at the venue already.
Hello, Morgan. Your voice sounds amazing in my ear. Now, folks here are more excited than a freaking Wookiee on Life Day, and if you know what that means, why? Why? We're getting ready for an extensive look at Star Wars: The Old Republic, my friends.
And EA is looking to regain the title of King of the Shooters. We're expecting to see some Medal of Honor, and by expecting, I mean hoping.
Oh, please.
Patrick, what are you looking forward to?
No, I love aliens. I think we all have aliens. I want more Dead Space 2, so just show me whatever you have of Dead Space 2, and I'll be a very happy man.
Little known fact about Patrick, he owns over 17 nightlights and uses them for this game right here.
Aliens, and I think we can all understand that.
That's really sweet.
Clearly the most adorable person up here on this balcony. Guys, the whole thing beams into your living room live and commercial free. Do not go anywhere. Back to you in studio.
Thank you so much, guys.
I'm not going out.
You know, with Patrick, one more E3, and I'm getting him some sleeves.
There are a million games in the Naked City, and
Apple's hoping the ones you play are theirs.
Can Apple conquer the game industry? That's the big question everyone's asking at this year's E3. When the original iPhone came out a few years ago, it didn't include any games, but all that changed with the 2008 launch of the App Store and Software Development Kit, which allowed designers to easily sell their creation. In the last couple of years, the number of games on the iPhone has exploded. There are over 30,000 currently available in the App Store. With the launch of the iPad in April and the upcoming iPhone 4, Apple is poised to sell even more games. This May brought the launch of Valve's downloadable game service to Mac computers. Over 50 games were available for the release, and the introduction of the service brought Apple some much-needed credibility in the PC game market. But experts say that Apple is not looking to dominate the hardcore gaming sector like Microsoft and Sony. The titles available for your iPad and iPhone are mostly simple, casual games designed for quick playtime. Many agree that Apple is carving out a brand new audience that previously hadn't spent money on gaming, much like Nintendo did with its very popular Wii. But that doesn't mean Nintendo and Sony are safe just yet. According to market analytics company Flurry, in 2008, iPhone game sales accounted for 5% of the handheld market, while PSP had 20 and Nintendo DS had 75. 1 year later, Apple has garnered 19%, while PSP dropped to 11 and Nintendo went down to 70. And with the accessibility of the App Store, it's not hard to imagine that Apple will continue to grow its foothold in gaming. Apple may not conquer the game industry, but if this trend continues, it won't be leaving the marketplace anytime soon.
So, who here actually believes that the iPhone poses a real threat to the rest of portable gaming? Oh, Kevin!
I'm sorry, I was just going
for one of them visual commentaries?
I was going for 3 stars and Angry Birds again, so if you'll excuse me. No, I think as a peripheral, Apple clearly has something here. I mean, it's an all-in-one device. It's a phone. People are going to have it for that, but the fact that their phone plays games and they have it on them at all times, that's a huge deal breaker.
Well, I think it's really great for that bite-sized gaming. Like,
yes.
I'm going to play on the DS. I'm going to play Golden Sun, which is going to be a very long RPG adventure. On the iPhone, I'm going to play a couple games of Flight Controller while I'm waiting in line or while I'm sitting somewhere, and that's good. There's room for both of those things.
I think where it gets confusing, I just did this in the soapbox, is that the games that you just described that you play on the iPhone, I think it's almost, we're doing it a disservice to call them games and also call Golden Sun a game, that we are talking about two very different types of interactive entertainment. Apple's honing in on one, but I don't think it's ever going to really move into the same turf of a more deep, rich gameplay experience.
Oh, I think it will at some point. I mean, if you look at how publishers like EA have committed to the platform, how they're trying to port their franchises over, it's only a matter of time before the games themselves get a little bit more robust and larger on the platform. And you can't forget the ability to purchase games anywhere at any time for $1 a pop, $5 a pop, even $10.
Those drunk impulse purchases, and you're like $5.99.
Yeah. That's why they don't need to be good, is that the impulse buy is what they're going for. That's where they get the dollars. And, you know, I think, you know, if you still have to go into a store to get a DS game, you know, there has to be a little bit of quality if you're going to make that extra piece of effort right there.
But we should also say that we've all been burned by games that aren't that great, where you paid $1.99 for it, and you're like, oh, wait, I remember, you get what you pay for.
There's not even a fart button on this one.
It's so hard to find out which ones are good and which ones aren't, because pretty much we only have Apple to tell us.
Right.
That really is challenging.
It is definitely a system that they're going to have to work on and continue to kind of hone. And as, you know, these iPhone games make names for themselves, then we're going to recognize those names, and they're going to start to have franchises.
Right. It's starting to happen. I mean, you're seeing companies make a lot of money off of it. Clearly, consumers are buying more iPhones, you know, each and every day. So it's going to be an interesting war, but I do think Apple is in a good position to take a bite out of anybody else.
I know. I'm never like, how many things should I take? Should I take my DS and my PSP and my phone? No.
No, just the phone.
Just the phone. All right, in just a few moments, we're going to shine our E3 spotlight on EA live at E3. So get your notebooks out, my Padawans, because there's going to be a lot to learn from the masters of Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Stick around.
All right.
Folks, it's nearly time for us to turn things over to Blair and Kristen and Patrick back at EA. But before we do, I think we're going to take a commercial break.
Yes, we're going to learn some things.
Let's do that.
Here and turn everything over to the very capable EA crew.
Yes, but before we do, it's time for yet another hands-on demo. Folks, here is an exclusive look at Homefront.
All right, please welcome David Votipka. He's the general manager of Chaos Studios, and you're also the design director, correct? Good. So Homefront, this is an interesting story. It kind of boils down to, like, hey, you got some North Korea in my America. How do we get it out? What is the series of events where North Korea invades the U.S.?
Yeah, we've actually spent a good amount of time laying out that backstory, but we're really focused more on what it's like to experience the occupation of America, and that's really what Homefront's about. It's, you know, there is an invasion. It's a partial occupation. They control San Francisco, key areas of the western United States. But really what we want players to experience is if the U.S. was occupied, what would it be like? And not just from a combat perspective, but from the human cost. How would the world be transformed? One of the key phrases we use is the familiar has become alien. So like suburbs, places we grew up, raised our kids, shop, the things that are part of our everyday lives, how are they transformed by this? And that's what we want players to experience.
Now, are you playing the game as proper military? I assume there's like sort of a rebel resistance to the occupation. How does your character fall into these big events?
Yeah, you are actually part of a civilian. Civilians turn freedom fighters. Civilian turn resistance. So you're always outgunned. You're outnumbered. You don't have as great equipment as the military does, and it's very much like guerrilla tactics. Get in, get out, achieve your objective. In some of the B-roll and the demo that we're watching, you'll see that there is a piece of military tech that the Resistance have managed to acquire, which is this Goliath autonomous combat vehicle. So there are a few things that are special.
It is still near future, so you can play around with some ideas of weapons. Now, the external weaponry, how do you incorporate that into the game?
Well, the Resistance, they use a lot of the real-world weaponry that exists today. You know, some of the sort of inventions in this decline of America haven't quite evolved as much as it normally would have. But it's really, using this Goliath, for example, that's an external weapon that you get to control its rockets, it's an autonomous vehicle. So that's one of the special set pieces and key pieces of tech.
So the type of combat that you engage in, obviously it looks a little bit fierce, it's up close and personal, but are you kind of a lone gunman, or are you kind of staying with another group of people throughout most of the game?
You're always with your squad, actually.
Okay,
and each squad has a very distinct personality, their own weapon types, and it's very much about, it's a resistance squad, but it's also, earlier in the game you'll see sort of where they live, where their families are, places that you have to protect. and you'll go through the game without them, and their character arcs will change as you go through the game. So it is about combat in America, but it's also about experiencing the occupation of America and how the civilian life has adapted to that.
Now, who exactly are the enemies in the game? I assume some of them are North Korean, but I mean, does this take place a ways after the occupation or right at the beginning of it?
It does. So North Korea, basically over the next 20 years, evolves. They unify with South Korea. Japan gets into the fold. Some of the Southeastern Asian nations become part of that federation, that republic. But once the game kicks off, we're actually in the year 2027, and the EMP that goes off and just destroys the American electronic grid and really sort of opens the door for this partial occupation. The game kicks off 2 years into that, so you get to see what America's been like for those 2 years.
Now, what part of this game do you think is going to impress gamers the most? Because one thing I was going to point out, it's very good looking as well.
Thanks, yeah. Really, Homefront revolves heavily around its premise, you know, and I think, you know, there's so many shooters out there and gamers wondering, well, why should I play this shooter? So my advice is, you know, does the experience of occupied America, does the experience and the idea of exploring that world appeal to you? And if the answer is yes, then Homefront will be very worth your while.
I mean, it seems that you're, you know, on purpose trying to play with contemporary anxieties about sort of where America's status in the world is and where it might be sometime down the line.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it comes back to that familiar's become alien. Everything that we're familiar with today has been twisted by this occupation and this sort of collapse. And, you know, it just kind of tugs at you when you see things that really mean a lot to you or that you can identify with, and it's been twisted by this. So we want to make it as real world as possible, and you'll see, you know, real brands in the game. There's a Lumber Liquidators in there, right? And it's just like, all those elements have been twisted by this occupation, so that's something we really want to key off of.
Sounds like a very, very interesting idea. I cannot wait to play it, but I think I may have to wait a little bit. When can we get our hands on Homefront?
Early 2011.
Early 2011. David, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Homefront, early 2011. It looks great. All right, guys, are you having fun over there?
Absolutely.
We're having a blasty.
We're just sort of talking about some of our favorite and least favorite things so far.
I thought we were talking about frozen yogurt. 100-calorie froyo is the best. But if we're talking about E3, Hunted is so far a big surprise to me. It was not on my radar until just today, and as we all know, I loves me some co-op.
You do loves you some co-op.
Yeah, a game
almost as much as you loves you some polls.
Some polls, yes. You know, you can't believe everything you read on the internet, but some things you can. But with Hunted, a game that looks that good, that seems to have those simple mechanics, but in-depth leveling based off items and loot grabbing. Like, I love that. I love raiding dungeons, and I love going at it.
And it's dark fantasy. And you know what? It's weird. We haven't had that much dark fantasy lately.
Right.
A lot of our dark fantasy has not really taken itself that seriously, and it's nice. I don't know, I kind of like that old school serious dungeon crawler, so I'm excited for that too.
Adam, what say you for best of E3 thus far?
Obviously, the most significant thing that has been kind of shown, revealed, discussed, talked about is Kinect. By the name of it, I'm not a big fan of that because it sounds like I'm saying it with the C-O-N-N-E-C-T.
Right.
Said it's this. It's a very strange name that they gave it, but I gotta say, there's two things that are standing out. It's not jumping out at me that there's something that much different than what the Wii has, and the fact that the games themselves seem to look very familiar to what we've seen on the Wii. There seems to be a paucity of imagination here, and more importantly, what I think has always worked for Nintendo, there's just a charm that they understand. Those Miis are kind of charming and they get you to smile, and it carries the simplistic gameplay, whereas here these avatars are just kind of, they're just kind of big-headed and scary.
They're neither adult nor are they childish. So they're trying to skate that fine line between them, and I think that what happens is they really succeed on neither level. So now playing with these, your avatar is not going to be as
awkwardly
satisfying.
pubescent virtual representations of ourselves.
Yeah.
Not the most appealing thing in the world.
I think right now, here's the other thing. Unless I'm wrong, there was no price announced for Kinect.
I didn't hear one at that conference.
I think that's something that people are going to be discussing throughout the week.
It could make or break some sales.
Just like when the PS3 was first shown with all those amazing videos, what I kept trying to hear from people is, how much is this going to cost? How much is this going to cost? $600. I do not think that the Kinect's going to be $600. If it goes above $100,
it can't
I think you
possibly.
priced it out of that casual market that you're trying to reach. Remember, they also have to have a 360 to be able to use it.
Well, I mean, I think what they're counting on is that you already have a 360 in the household, and then mom, grandma, little sister, or whatever, you're going to be able to sell them this accessory, and then be able to sell them the games.
Sure.
I was actually really frustrated by this press conference and upset by it. They gave us what we wanted in the very beginning, and then they did yoga for the rest of the time.
Right.
And
then Lollipop showed up to video chat with their friends about iCarly.
Velveteen.
Yeah.
I think we're going to use those names.
That's why, yes, you can call me Velveteen from here on out.
all right, Lollipop. I was just, it made me angry, the representation of women in that. Because the women came on to say, let's video chat. How does it work? I don't know. It's kind of technical. Math is hard.
Right.
Like, really, like, don't talk down to me right at that point. That was incredibly frustrating. But they have a lot of features and...
You know, I said, look, if you missed the Microsoft press conference, you could just fire up your DVR and see the Wii conference from 2008.
Absolutely.
And the Twitterverse exploded with some fangs and acid because they seem to believe it's magical and revolutionary like everything Apple does, but it's Microsoft in this case. I look at it and go, listen, it may be your hardware might have these implications on the road, but the applications that were shown off today seem like carbon copies of things that we've already done on Nintendo's console.
Yeah, we had Nintendogs, we had Wii Sports, we had, Wii
we had
Fit.
a kart racer.
Right.
We had a kart racer where you have to hold your hands up like this.
Wii has a dancing game.
Which gets tiring after like
Well,
2
the other
minutes.
thing is, no one made the case. Is that that the tech is so in and of itself so transcendent and amazing that no one even discussed what the potential future applications. Where is Milo? That
where is Milo?
was fascinating, and we have not seen
For
how
those
that's
who don't
been
know,
put into
Milo
game.
was shown off last year by Peter Molyneux. It was like an avatar boy or child that you can interact with.
And you actually spoke with it. It responded to you. You could pass things into the world, and they would, figure out what they are and then pass them back. We didn't see that. Instead, we saw things that you could do on the iToy years ago.
So
today we got
maybe not
Skittles.
with us.
Skittles, come back, Skittles.
No, Skittles,
That's
don't
how
come
you
back.
get
Skittles,
mauled.
go away.
That's how tigers maul you. You call them Skittles.
All right, it's time for us to hand things over to Blair and Kristen.
Yeah, they are over at the Orpheum Theater. They're getting ready to bring you
All right, we're going to catch a cab and hightail it over to Ubisoft.
Not me, I'm running. See ya.
You're running?